On this episode, we do a build breakdown on my 1990 Ford EA Fairmont.
Give it a couple of rev bangs.
What do you reckon, Gracie? What do you reckon? Is that cool? Is that a cool car? What do you reckon? Hey, what do you reckon? You don't like the car? You don't like the car? Well, you don't like the car. What's up, YouTube? Back in today with another video. On today's video, we're doing something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I'm actually not gonna lie, I'm pretty excited about doing this video, and it's on none other than EASYOZ Ford EA Fairmont. So yeah, this has been my little side project for the last couple of years now. Had no intention of buying an EA or any sort of box car for that matter. And if you're not aware, me and the boys at least, we call them box cars. Late 80s, early 90s Fords, and generally they've all got like a boxy sort of shape, so we just call them box cars. But yeah, this is something that popped up. One of the boys, shout out to Mikey, Mr. 267, Mr. Pick Apart Rewa. He hooked it up with us. I don't want to say too much on the background of this car, because if you know, you know. But yeah, it's had a bit of a rough life, we'll say. I'll throw some videos in of the condition of this car when I first picked it up from Mikey's house. It was in a pretty bad way. So what you see today doesn't look like much. It actually still looks like something that should be in the pick apart right now. But it's actually taken a hell of a lot of work to actually get it to where it is right now. So yeah, so back in the early days of when the EAs were introduced, these came with a 3.2, and then that was soon replaced with a 3.9 litre straight six. This one is no longer a 3.9, it is now the mighty AU Intec 4 litre. So I've retrofitted this one into here, and it was a surprisingly easy swap over. So we'll do a bit of a rundown on the car itself and what I've done. And like usual with all my other videos, I'll generally start with the interior and then move on to the more exciting things, I will say. So in terms of the interior, it's actually a bit of a mess right now, but it's more or less all the stock EA Fairmont Falcon based interior. So it has a bench seat. I've just covered it in a sheepskin type thing and taken the headrests off because it kind of gives it that pickup truck type vibe. Likewise with the rear seat, I've ditched the original EA back seat and put in the ELXR6 seat. Again, no headrest. It's actually crazy how much viewing area there is, or how clear it is to see out the sides and the back window when there's no headrest. It is so easy to drive. I actually really enjoy just driving around in it. Not that I drive it much, but every time I jump in it, it's actually pretty cool to drive around in. Gets a hell of a lot of looks, probably because it looks like it's about to fall apart, but yeah. Don't knock it, it's pretty solid. So yeah, I haven't done a hell of a lot in the interior. The carpets were all pretty messed up when I first got it, likewise with the seats. So the seats have come out, the carpet's been out. Basically redid all the underlay under the carpet, tried to clean up the carpet as much as I could. I've done a few other little things, like I've put an EL headlining in here. Surprisingly, it was from pick apart and it was still in fairly good nick. It's starting to sag in a few areas, but for the most part it's pretty tidy. I've got a dash mat from one of the boys. Can't remember if it was Anton or Oppa, one of you guys. You guys always hooking me up with parts. So yeah, so we got the dash mat in there for maximum Falcon street cred. I've put a little cheap Bluetooth head unit in there. We've done the door speakers, which are little 4-inch wastes of time, but yeah, we've chucked those in there. Some fully sick 6x9s in the back, and yeah, sounds reasonably good. So that's pretty much it. Door trims all factory EA, likewise with the rest of it. So being that this is got a bench seat in the front, it's actually column shift auto. 220 k's on the clock. No idea if that's accurate. I have heard that these odometers in these cars tend to just stop working, so potentially this could have stopped working about 10 years ago. I have no idea, but it drives reasonably well. The body's in pretty rough condition, to be honest, but for the most part it's still holding together. So yeah, when I'm talking about the body's in a pretty rough state, I'm not lying. It has got a fair bit of rust, and I'm not trying to hide any of this sort of shit either. As you see it, I haven't even washed it or anything, even by all the cobwebs everywhere. Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C, Exhibit, holy hecker. So yeah, it's got a fair bit of rust in it. Every time I slam the door, there's more and more that just seems to fall out of all the rusted areas. But it's rusted in areas that are like probably fixable. I've just got no time for rust, man. Nearly all of my cars have got rust, and this is definitely by far the worst of all of them. So I'd probably be better off reshelling it, to be honest, or doing a whole panel cut type thing and unstitch it, put a new one in, or put a replacement in, and yeah, get it all replaced with some fresh non-rusty stuff. So yes, this is the 30th anniversary edition. I have no idea what the hell that 30th anniversary thing means, but it's cool. And this is actually registered as a Fairmont, so that rear garnish, that's factory. Just don't worry about that. We'll fix that one there, because it's actually a Fairmont. Okay. Now a lot of you are probably wondering what the plates are for, what they mean exactly. They basically mean EASYOZ, as in easy donuts, as in. So basically this car was built to be a skid hack. And I've actually never done a skid in it, which is pretty sad, but hopefully that will change. Actually it might not change, because there is the potential that I might sell it, and I don't really want to, but I kind of have to, because I've got too many cars and I've got no room. So I bought these plates mainly as a little bit of motivation to actually try and get the car finished and hopefully get it onto a burnout pad or a skid day or whatever, just to have a little bit of legal fun in it. But yeah, as I said, I've never done a skid in this thing yet, so yeah, I never got that far, mainly because I have not finished building the thing. So I started off trying to get it drivable. When I first got it, it wasn't running. Had the old 3.9 in it, which I actually still do have. Strangely enough, I don't know why I kept it, but it should still be somewhere in the back of the yard with the rest of my gang of stuff. So there's the old 3.9 under there. It should be at the bottom of the ocean, to be honest, but I've kept it for whatever reason. I have no idea. But yeah, so I got it running eventually on the 3.9. It was so slow, like seriously, it didn't have enough power to get out of its own way. So decided to pull that out and upgrade the motor. In doing that, I thought, maybe upgrade the suspension in the front at least. When I was test driving it, when I first got it running, it had a massive pull to the left hand side. Didn't know exactly what that was. I thought maybe a brake caliper was like slightly seized or something, or the alignment was out. Turns out all the suspension on the front left side of it was bent. So it took a big whack to the front radius rod, which is like a little rod that goes from the front of the cross member to the lower control arm. That had a massive notch in it, so someone had run over something, smacked straight into that radius rod, bent that, bent the strut, bent the lower arm. Everything was totaled. So I went to pick apart, got all the replacements I needed, new stub axle as well, because I wasn't too sure how much damage that would have taken. So yeah, front end has had a little bit of work. So yeah, it might be a little bit hard to see under there, but we've got brand new struts in the front. I've got a Cobra lowering spring in there, can't remember what height, doesn't matter, looks about right for the rest of the car. Put a replacement lower arm in there, replacement radius rod, because the old one took a whack, like literally right in the middle there, bent that and bent everything else with it. And it also twisted the cross member slightly, so I tried to reposition that as best I could. But yeah, it took a fairly decent whack, so a little bit hard to see, but it's got braided brake lines up front. I did put brand new pads, brand new rotors in here as well. And it's a little bit hard to see, but this has actually got an adjustable white line sway bar, 30mm. In terms of the rear suspension, I have not touched it. I don't know what's in there. If it's anything like the original fronts, it's probably cut springs and probably on factory shocks, so it's probably not captive. I don't drive this very often, allegedly, so I think it will be fine until the day that I need to do things on that. I have got some shortened shocks that will go in here at some stage, but I'd rather keep the rear springs as they are because it sits quite nice. So wheels and tyres wise, we've just gone with some 15-inch Steelies. I've gone with the Chaser centre caps just to make it look a little bit OG style, I guess, with how the Falcons used to be back in the day. Don't mind the rust on the wheels. I picked these up from Pick Apart, gave them a spray with silver, and after about 2 years they started rusting through. My bad, don't care. But yeah, if I do keep it, probably get all of that stripped back, and I'll probably get them powder coated, to be honest, because they actually look quite tough sitting on Steelies, these old box cars. Now on to the best part, the motor. So as I was saying earlier, this is the 4-litre intake, Tickford spec, straight 6 motor out of a AU Falcon. So I got this for a pretty good price. The guy I got it off actually pulled it out of a AU XR6 at Pick Apart and actually managed to get himself a good package deal with a complete T5 behind it. So he kept the box. I bought the motor off him because he couldn't manage to sell it for what he thought it was worth. So I picked it up fairly cheap, and this became the motor to drop in to the EA. So as I was saying earlier, the old 3.9, trash motor. So it's good that they've progressed over the years. Obviously nowadays we've got the Barra, but when it comes to the old 4-litre single cam straight 6s, the old AU intake is probably the pick of the bunch, arguably. I know the old crossflows are pretty tough and whatnot, but yeah, these intakes and even the EFEL straight 6s, pretty solid motor. So this one I haven't really done much to. Like I was saying, it's basically straight from the guy that I bought it off. He pulled it straight from the wrecker, so what you see is what it is. Pretty much all I've done to it really is I fitted up a set of extractors. These are Kobe branded, so they're a tri-Y style, so they go 6 into 2 into 1. These are very similar to the old Jim Mock motorsport headers, the race series headers at least, so they have a stupidly long secondary pipe which deletes the catalytic converter. If you're in New Zealand, you'd know that the catalytic converter rules here are pretty bloody loose, so you're not required to run them technically. Realistically, you should be running them, but if your car's an old heap of shit like this is, you can get away with it. So obviously this is not running a catalytic converter then. So I've put these on, changed the water pump, put a new one in there. I've put a power bond harmonic balancer on there as well, just one of the street balancers, so nothing fancy, but something a little bit more reliable. I've done the Welsh plugs, so I've put brass plugs in this all round, even behind the motor and behind the bell housing. This is running the EA style log intake manifold, and it's also running the distributor ignition system. So obviously with the AUs they all ran coil pack. EA, EB, ED, for some reason they changed in EF and then went back to distributor and EL, but they were the only models that came with the distributor ignition system. To keep things easy on this, I've actually just kept all of that. So obviously with the AUs being coil pack, it needs to be converted back to a distributor setup, which is relatively easy. I won't go into it on this video, but there's a lot of info out there. If anyone wants to know about it, I can send through some videos and whatnot, because I have put up a little bit of a build thread type thing on Instagram about this car, which I probably should have done on YouTube, to be honest. I never really thought YouTube was going to be something that I was keen to do until I started doing it, and then I've realized that I've lost a whole bunch of content that I could have put on YouTube and could have made a bit more readily available for people. But yeah, so basically that's where it stands at the moment. So still running all the EA wiring loom and everything, fuel rail, injectors, fuel rig, throttle body, the idle speed controller, all of that is all the factory EA stuff. I did put a new Dizzy in here, so I picked up a brand new Dizzy from TI Performance a couple years ago and chucked that in here. Just put some new leads in there, new plugs and whatnot, basically just so everything was fresh. Accessory wise, it's pretty basic. So obviously the EAs, the EBs, the EDs, they all come with a clutch fan for cooling. They work well, obviously. I'm not gonna say that they don't work well. They soak up a lot of power. So I've actually gone with an EF EL style radiator, and I've gone with the EF EL thermofans. I think these fans are actually out of an EL because I've only got the one plug, and that was easier to wire up for me. I was going to try and run the factory loom for the thermofans and somehow get this to run the EL ECU, but I lost interest in that. I thought it's just easier to go out and buy an aftermarket controller to switch the fans on for me. So I've gone with the Davies Craig thermofan controller. Basically this just picks up a temperature from a little sensor that I've tapped into the thermostat housing. You preset it to the temperature that you want, so once that sensor reads a certain temperature, it sends power to the fans and the fans come on. At the moment the fans are staggered to come on, and I can't remember exactly the temperature because it's been like 6 months since I set this up, but yeah, it'll come in with the first fan. A couple of seconds later it'll come in with the second fan. Once it gets back to the temperature that it should be at, cuts the fans off, so it self-regulates, which is quite cool. Obviously, because we've deleted the clutch fan setup, I've gone for the single belt, which is just way easier. The old EAs, EBs, EDs, they all run a multi-belt setup, so I think from memory there's 3 belts or 2 belts, whatever, don't care. I hate the setup, so we just went with a single belt, keep it nice and easy. So it's running a AU power steering pump, AU alternator as well, water pump. I've got the belt tensioner out of an XH. XH Falcons have the log intake manifold as well, so they have this little bit of a curve to the top pulley mounting position. Just gives you a bit more room if you're running AC. which in this case I'm not. I don't know, I must be the only idiot that doesn't run air conditioning, because everybody asks, oh, you're not running aircon? I'm like, no, I don't need that. That's what windows are for. Anyway, deleted the aircon. It actually had no aircon when I got it, but yeah, if you're deleting the aircon, you need some sort of delete pulley to actually take up the belt length. So I've just got a factory AC delete pulley down there, and then yeah, it all works as it should. This has got a couple of other little bits and pieces that aren't necessarily special, but relocated the coil to the inner guard area, shock tower, whatever you want to call it. Ford decided it would be a fantastic idea to mount the coil directly to the engine block. Stupid idea. No wonder these cars are notorious for killing the coil, because they're directly mounted to a heat source. So obviously relocating it away from that sort of takes out the heat from being a factor, or as much of a factor at least. So yeah, just relocated the coil to a more convenient spot. Obviously running the hectic pod filter on there, sucking in all the hot air so everyone can bag me out for not having an airbox. I'm running an AU coolant bottle. No particular reason other than the old EA one was cracked, and I don't think you can get the EA ones now unless you're a hoarder and you've got a whole stash of all the new old stock parts that you can no longer get. But yeah, apart from that, that's pretty much it in terms of the engine bay. Other than that, I've got an Aeroflow drop-in fuel pump in the tank, mainly because the old fuel pump died. Pretty much 2 weeks after I got it running, it wouldn't start, so put a new Aeroflow fuel pump in there. Other than that, yeah, it's all pretty much stock. So still the original 4-speed box that just mounts up to the AU motor. In terms of mounting the AU motor itself, I had a sump that was already pre-modified for EFEL subframes, so I pretty much just used that on this motor. Pretty easy. All that's required is a big notch on the sump, so you can pretty much just cut and shut it, and it gives you the clearance that you need from the front part of the subframe. I have been told that you can just grind the fins on the front of the sump, so you might be able to get away with it. If not, that's another option. In the EFEL, it's easier to just do this. Otherwise, the only other thing I've got in here is a massive transmission oil cooler. Like I was saying, this was intended to be used for skids, so I've been trying to build it in a way that everything is kept as cool as possible, we'll say. In terms of exhaust, I've built this one from scratch. I'm by no means a fabricator by any stretch, but I wanted to give it a go on this, and it's not complete either. Basically it's just dumped at the diff, because that's all I care about, is just getting the exhaust a little bit further away from the driver's seat. Initially I had it straight out of the headers. Oh my god, super rowdy. It's basically like sitting in a war zone. Just all you can hear is it's horrible. So I made up an exhaust for this a little while ago. Nothing special, like I was saying. It's all mild steel, 2.5-inch mandrel bends. Goes all the way to the diff, and then it steps up to 3-inch for no particular reason other than the fact that I had a Flowmaster style 2-chamber muffler that was 3-inch in, 3-inch out. So I've chucked that in there, just straight from the extractors, 2.5-inch piping all the way through to the single muffler, dumped at the diff. I've welded in a little 3-inch dump off the end of that muffler. I've put my little signature VB bottle cap on the side of it. And yeah, it sounds pretty rowdy. It sounds pretty tough, I'm not gonna lie. It actually sounds real crossflowy, sort of old school 6, which I'm quite a fan of actually. So yeah, sounds pretty tough. Stupidly loud, but it sounds tough, and that's all that matters. So. this is how it is at the moment. I did put a cam in it pretty early on. If you're on Instagram, you might have seen the video do the rounds a little bit, maybe not. I'll see if I can attach the video in here.
Don't worry about the chop. You don't know shit about chop.
But yeah, that was the plan, to cam it, J3 chip from TI Performance, tune it, try and get as much power out of it as possible in fairly stock form before we pull the motor down, and then maybe valve springs and whatnot. So ideally valve springs would be nice to have if we're doing the cam upgrade and skidding it hard. But yeah, those are the plans for it. Like I was saying, I don't know if I'm going to get there. At the moment, this car's on the chopping block if I have to get rid of a car, so it's sad to say it, but yeah, we'll see how things go. So yeah, no, it's not a bad package. My next plans were to actually build a diff for it, so I had a single spinner diff out of an EF that I had on the side, which I was going to build up for it. So I was going to actually chuck in some 389 gears that I had sitting around from an R31. Apparently they fit into the Borg Warner 78 series diffs, allegedly. Probably not without some spacers and shims and whatnot to make it work, but yeah, that's what I was intending to do. So it was supposed to be a built diff for it. I bought a mini spool from Tough Car Parts, which I was supposed to get done when the diff gets done. Haven't got there, so if I keep it, we'll get there, we'll get that sorted, we'll take it out to a skid pan and we'll smack some barriers. It'll be a cracker of a time. But yeah, there she is. An absolute pile of rust that should be in the scrapyard. So yeah, I'm thinking I might actually jump in this thing and take it for a drive. It's been a little while since I've actually taken it out, so haven't washed it or anything in probably about 6 months, so yeah, we got to blow some cobwebs off it in the wind, so I'm not wasting water, because generally Mother Nature does the car washing for us. So yeah, so we'll take it out for a spin, hopefully not get stopped by the 5.0, because this is not technically legal. So yeah, we'll jump in, we'll go for a jam. I don't think you can pick up the drone in the video, but yeah, it's not nice on the ears, but I think at high RPM probably not too bad. Around 2000 RPM it's pretty dreadful, to be honest, but it still sounds tough outside, that's all that matters. Just slip it into neutral, give it a couple of rev bangs. She revs out pretty good. So yeah, it's pretty hard case driving this thing around. Everybody's looking at you and probably thinking, what the fuck is that? Yeah, for something that's so ghetto looking, it actually drives relatively nice. It's fairly smooth on the steering, brakes are okay, suspension's pretty soft, I guess, but not bouncy, not hella bouncy at least. So yeah, not a bad little cruiser. So yeah, that's a little bit of a rundown on my 1990 Ford EA Fairmont. Yeah, basically like I was saying, potentially this might come up for sale. If the right offer comes along, I might just flick it on and maybe chuck the cash into some of my other cars. As much as I would like to keep it, I really don't have the room, and I really don't have the patience to play Tetris in the driveway every weekend. So yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks again for watching, guys. Appreciate the support. Until next time, I'll catch you on the next one. Chit.